welcome to my channel. My name is Amy Bruderly, and I am the owner, operator, and everything person over at Shadowluxe Soapery. So, in one of my previous videos, I talked about the video of the person who won the January Soap Challenge Club Challenge. So the winner, the overall winner, essentially. And it went through and showed how she did everything. She got this pretty perfect soap. If I do, like, I think it was pretty perfect. So that, just amazing. But I thought it'd be really cool to show another soaper who was in the same category as her, but her soap didn't quite fit the criteria as well, but it's still a gorgeous soap. And what's funny is that when I saw it, I was like, oh my gosh, how did she do that? Because it looks so cool, even though it didn't match what the challenge was. It still turned out so cool that a lot of people were like, hey, how did you do this? So I'm glad she got a video. I'm glad that she kind of captured it and that she entered it anyway. So it did not turn out in that seamless ombre like Lisa's did, but it still looks so cool. So, even people who have been doing this soap and the Soap Challenge Club and everything for a really long time, you can still do some stuff incorrectly. And nothing against Terry. I absolutely love Terry. She is just like a precise precision soap maker. Absolutely amazing. Again, I watched a lot of her videos when I was teaching myself how to make soap. She was definitely a big inspiration. Her colors are amazing. She's so precise. She's so methodical. Goals. I wish I could be as precise as Terry, but I don't think I'm ever gonna get there. So yeah, I'm so excited for this one. I can't wait to see how she did the challenge rung and still got an absolutely amazing soap. So yeah, I'm super excited. I'm just gonna start. Sorry, I promise.
And I was going for something very similar to this. However, my result was something a little different and unexpected, but I really do love it, so I'm going to take you through the journey now. Before we get too far, I want to refer you to the description if you're interested in more information on the Soap Challenge Club. This year, Amy's focusing on the basics, so it's a great time for you to join in, especially if you're new to soap making. Alright, let's talk about the planning process. Just a heads up, this video isn't a step-by-step tutorial. Instead, it's a little glimpse into my creative process with this month's soap challenge. I hope it inspires you on your soap making journey. My inspiration for this batch was that stunning view of the Earth's atmosphere from outer space. I wanted to capture how it glows as the light transitions through the layers. I chose a color palette that moves from a deep black representing outer space, and then a blue, turquoise, and white representing the atmosphere itself, and I added a bit of pink just for interest, and then I mirrored that back to the blue and black. Another consideration I needed to think about when I was planning this is that a wall pour, especially an ombre wall pour, takes a long time to pour, so I needed a slow-moving recipe. I went with a simple palm-free vegan recipe similar to the one I used for my chevron swirl video. My next consideration to keep my recipe slow-moving is that I have to pick the right fragrance or essential oil blend. I need this to be well-behaved, meaning no acceleration or discoloration. Lately, I've been going with essential oil combinations when I really need my fragrance to behave, and this time I've picked a calming and fresh combination of lavender, peppermint, eucalyptus, and tea tree oil. To keep things moving here, I've already prepared my lye solution, the oils, and I have the colorants prepared, and I'm ready to get my mixture to an emulsion. Since
Terry, she does this really cool thing where she puts down her mica and oil and she mixes them with a palette knife on a piece of glass. It's super cool to watch. It's super satisfying. I think that they probably, I know that she and Lisa make little color samples of all of their mica so they know what they're going to look like once they're saponified, which is really cool. Yeah, just she's so methodical. This is gonna be so good. I'm so excited.
This technique takes so long to pour. It's important to only get it to an emulsion and not trace. That means that the oils and lye solution are fully combined. They will not separate. I have a little trick that I use sometimes when I really want to make sure that I have reached an emulsion. I don't want any separation taking place. I have bent a spoon so that it hangs over the edge of the bowl. And when I'm ready to check to see if an emulsion has been reached, I dip the spoon into the batter and I hang it on the edge of the bowl. And then I just hand stir for a while and I give it time to separate on that spoon. Then I take a look at the spoon, and if the batter looks grainy or if it shows bits of the stainless steel spoon through the film, it has separated and it's not ready. It's not
That's genius, and I might need to do it. I don't know if I have a stainless steel spoon, but yeah, that's actually a genius way to tell if the all the molecules and the chemicals have bonded together, because if they don't bond together, you're going to have all sorts of problems. So first and foremost in making soap is to make sure you have reached emulsion. That's kind of like the bare minimum. So yeah, this is actually a really smart way to do it. I love it. I'll have to find a stainless steel spoon, I guess.
emulsified yet. Here I can see that this batter is not ready yet. I can see that the batter is beginning to separate. Those little specks that are starting to show on the spoon. This means that I need to agitate it a little more with the stick blender. I'm very careful not to over agitate. At this point I clean off the spoon and I dip it again and wait for the results. At this point, I'm satisfied that the batter has reached an emulsion, and I can go ahead with the splitting of the batter and the coloring of the batter.
Oh my gosh. That's so many colors. That's just that she's doing it down and mirroring it back up. Like that's so much work. It's crazy.
Okay, on to the pour. Let's talk about what a wall pour is. A wall pour is when you pour soap batter back and forth along one of the long walls of your soap mold. There are many techniques out there that use the wall pour to create different results, such as a wood grain technique, or there are several landscape designs, such as a beach scene, and also the One Pot Wonder uses a wall pour. When using a wall pour technique, you can cut your loaf in different ways to get different results. If you want straight lines, you would cut vertically down the middle of the long length of the mold, and then you would cut it into bars. And if you want curved results, you would just cut it normally like a loaf of bread. Usually the opposite side of the mold is propped up a bit, as you see here. And now for an ombre pour, the goal is to have smooth transitions between colors. You want that gradual color change. For this design, I wanted to have a section of black in the bottom before I started the ombre, so I poured most of the black, and then I added a little bit of the blue, stirred that in, and did a few swipes with that, and I continued doing that until I was a little more than halfway done with the blue. Next, I added what remained in the blue pitcher to the first pitcher, which was the black, and I always use that first pitcher as my mixing pitcher. And then I started off with the turquoise, gradually adding, making some swipes, and gradually adding, and doing that in the same way with the remaining colors. When I was pouring this, I didn't realize anything was going wrong. It seemed like everything was falling together, but later we will talk about what possibly went wrong and caused the layers to kind of jump over one another and to create that undulating effect. As you watch this pour, you can kind of see that there's a little overlapping in the center at one point, but I didn't really notice it otherwise. But I want to mention one thing. When you are pouring and you think it's not going well, just keep going, because you don't know what it's going to look like when you cut into that soap, and it could be something amazing.
Yeah, this is sped up pretty significantly. It's going to take... I can't even imagine. This is going to take so long. Like, I don't even want to know how long she spent on this, but it was a very long time. Yeah. I've made a few ombre soaps, and oh my gosh, they take so much patience and so much time, and just so much patience. It's so difficult to kind of... And you have to repeat the same process over and over and over and over and over and over. So it's just kind of like repetitive, and you're hoping that everything kind of turns out right and that nothing is going to go bad. Oh my gosh. Oh, it's so pretty. Yeah. Oh, look, you can see... I'm pointing at my screen, but yeah, I'm like, you can see where that blue from the bottom is coming up. But like, it looks like if I had done that, I would have thought that it would turn out exactly how I was thinking. So it'll be really interesting to see.
Now let's take a look at the cut. What do you think? It wasn't what I was expecting, but actually I think it came out more interesting than if it would have turned out the way I was hoping for. Since the layers kind of jumped over each other, it creates a sense of motion and it causes interest. And the question is, could I do it again if I wanted to? Maybe, because more often than not, when I'm trying to do a technique like this, I end up with steps. But they aren't always pretty. Notice while I'm cutting this loaf, the bars on the end look prettier than the ones in the center. And I think that's because when I changed direction of the pour, there was a little more weight that was being pushed down on the ends than in the center. So the batter in the center pushed out a little more and the batter on the ends pushed down a little more. And that's just because it was following the path of least resistance. So in order for us to make this technique work to our advantage and do what we want it to do, we need to control the path of least resistance. I mentioned it a little in my Groovy Swirl video. I talked about how you want the swirl to go deep and wide, not just wide. This was one of my end pieces of my Groovy Swirl, and it worked out really well because of that downforce. There was more weight of the batter pushing down, whereas with this batch, they were really thin drizzles. When you're making an ombre pour, more likely you're doing smaller drizzles, but I should have poured more batter at one time instead of making several passes. Another thought that I had is that my mold was possibly a little too tilted, and that caused the downforce not to be as great. I'm sure if any of you are good in physics, you could explain this much better than I did, but my main takeaway is that you want to control the path of least resistance depending on what you're going for. In my case, since I like how this came out, but I prefer the end pieces better than the center pieces, I would try to pour a little more batter at one time just to get the downforce a little more. Before we finish with the cut, I want to let you know that if you like this cutter, it's from Custom Craft Tools, and I have a link in the description below and also a discount code. I had a little input on the design of this cutter. Because of that, we worked through all the bugs of many of my other cutters, so I can tell you that I highly recommend this one. I will leave a link in the description to another video that I talk about it in more depth if you're interested. Next up, I bevel the edges of the bars. This gives it a more finished look. This is actually very satisfying. I have a new tool that I got from Marina of Creamy Obsession. I'll put a link in the description below. It's still fairly new to me. I only just started using it in my last video with the Kiss Pour. This time I used it a little too early and my bars were a little softer and it caused the corners to be not quite as clean, and that's totally user error. There is a bit of a learning curve with new tools, and so I'm still getting the hang of it. With any kind of beveling tool, you can get drag marks where the guide touches the soap. And I showed an easy way to get rid of that in my last video, which was the Kiss Pour video. So check that out if you're interested. Next month, the soap challenge is focusing on impression mat designs. Amy Batista of Ellison Acre Soap is our guest teacher and also our sponsor. Check back here next month for my experience with that soap challenge. And in the meantime, I have a few impression mat videos to get you excited.
So, Amy Bautista from the Elysian Acres soap, I actually got my sweater impression mat from her, and I'm still so excited about how that one turned out. It's amazing. Yeah, she's amazing at making impression mats. So, yeah, I'm excited to enter the challenge for February with the impression mats because I think they're just so pretty. They look so cool. So yeah, that was Terry's not quite as successful soap as Lisa's. You can see they were both doing the exact same thing and they got two very different results, which I think is just absolutely fascinating. It's one of the most interesting thing about making soap is that everyone gets the same tutorial. We all get the same amount of time. It's just, every soap maker is different. Every soap is different, and you're going to get different results. It's just so much fun. It's so cool. So yeah, I love the colors that she chose. Her black is stunning. I'm going to assume I think she said she used activated charcoal because that will give you one of the best black colors. Yeah, so she has a super interesting color palette. It's kind of like she did everything right. It's just, it didn't turn out how she wanted, but it's still something absolutely incredible. So, good job, Terry. I love your work. It's absolutely fantastic. I'll put a link to the video, probably some of her other videos. Her stuff is it's just so cool. She's amazing with color and being absolutely meticulous with the way that she makes soap, and definitely an inspiration to me and probably a lot of other people. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed my review of the January Soap Challenge Club soap from Tree Marie Soap and the wall pour that went wrong but still turned out really well. If you like this video, make sure to comment, like, subscribe. And I also have a Patreon, and if you sign up at a certain tier, I will send you one free soap every month. So it would be fantastic if you wanted to support me that way. Yeah, until next time, I'm Amy Bruderly from Shadowluxe Soapery, and I will see you later. Bye.